Welcome to the Around the Maritimes podcast, the official English language podcast of the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League. Mavs Gillis, and Jeremy Boucher. Gilmis. I don't know.
Gilmis.
I've heard it. I've heard the first one pronounced really weird. But Gilmis is the first. Let's start off first by congratulating the London Knights on capturing the Memorial Cup. They this has been hey, all four teams there representing their leagues very well. Moncton finding a chance to play in the playdowns, but London was the cream of the crop, to quote Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, they were just the best team, since from the drop of the puck of the tournament. It was you could say they were the healthiest group as well. You look at Moncton. Moncton was battling some injuries. Rimouski, they had a lot of guys out, during the playoffs, and they managed to get them back for the Memorial Cup. Don't know how healthy they were, if they're 100% or not, but anytime there's an injury. And you look at Medicine Hat, they were without Caden Lindstrom and Andrew Basha, right? And they only came back, I think, late in the WHL finals and the Memorial Cup. So it's tough to really overcome injuries to key players. And London was just way too good. You're probably looking at half of that team going on to NHL careers as early as next season. Easton Cowan, Sam Dickinson, Casper Haltnen, just to name a few. Like, these guys are going to be in the NHL next year, and you can't say the same for some of these other guys on the other teams. You look at Caden Lindstrom's going to Michigan State. It's the Gavin McKenna question still up in the air. Like, it's London was in terms of experience, how crushing of a defeat it was for them to lose in the Memorial Cup final last year. By I think it was 20 seconds left in the third period. They had revenge on their mind all year, and they achieved the ultimate goal.
Mission accomplished for the London Knights, and I know the Memorial Cup will be making a stop into Pictou with Landon Sim, so we're excited, and congratulations to Landon and the Sim family. I know that's going to be an exciting soiree, if you will, with the Memorial Cup coming to Pictou. And that's when we get ourselves back into the Maritimes. And a couple things before we get into our draft coverage. Jim Holton and his entire coaching staff re-signing with the Islanders, and that is such a huge move for them, because if they were to lose the coach and general manager Jim Holton, for them to start over at square one with this core, that would be a very, very tough task for them for a couple of years. And Jim, when he sat down talk with Matt Beardsley on our draft coverage, he's the first one to say the word rebuild out the window. This is the roster we're moving forward, and they've got some pieces. The first pick on the Provencher in that draft, typical Jim Holton guy, typical Holton hockey guy. So we're very excited. We'll be getting more into the draft, but that's big for Charlottetown.
Absolutely. Jim Holton, of course, friend of the show, and just huge. He's obviously been through some good times and the not so good times in Charlottetown, and he's arguably one of the best coaches in the league. So to lose him would be a huge shot in the arm to the Islanders, and it was great that they managed to come to some terms and get him to come back. And they've got a great future coming in. It's not a rebuild. They're going to be a really competitive team. Next season. Max Jardine, CHL Humanitarian Award finalist. Like, what more can you ask for in a teammate? Matty Butler. You mentioned Antoine Provencher. Everything I've heard and read is he's a franchise altering forward, right? So he's gonna be having an impact in Charlottetown as early as next season. And there's obviously names we're missing here, but I think the future looks really bright for the folks on PEI.
Yeah, and that team was one of the better teams in the second half of the year last year with the Charlottetown Islanders. So excited to go over to the Eastlink Center next season for QMJHL Friday Night Hockey on Eastlink Community TV. Also, re-signing with the club is Gordy Dwyer, re-signing with the Regiment. There was a little confusion off a tweet from NTV saying they're going to announce their first ever their new head coach, and a lot of people were sweating a little bit, thinking what's going to happen with Gordy Dwyer. Gordy and the crew are staying with that organization, and they certainly made a splash at the draft. We'll get into that, but Gordy going over to Newfoundland, that was a no doubt about it.
Yeah, just to be able to get him, he again probably one of the better coaches in the league. Just gets the best out of his players every shift, and that's going to be a team they're going to be one of the top teams in the Atlantic. Again, I don't know if it's going to be called the Atlantic Division, but just the number of players that are coming over from Bathurst, their draft picks, just their season ticket sales already. It's going to be a loud rink over there at the Mary Brown Center, and I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but geez, one of these days I'd love to experience hockey on the Rock, and what a better place to go watch it than St. John's and the Q. I'm looking forward to that, seeing that regiment roster.
Now, as well, going from this has been again the island portion. We're going to Cape Breton to talk about Jason Clark, named as the head coach of the Cape Breton Eagles. It's a reuniting head coach and general manager. Clark was the head coach under Sylvain Couturier in I believe Sly's last year in Acadie Bathurst before he became the general manager of the Eagles, and that was also Jason Clark's last year in the Q. He went to the AHL. He's got a ton of experience in Ontario Junior A, the CCHL. He's been CCHL Coach of the Year a few times. Comes back after the experience in the pros and has a very, very young roster to develop with Cape Breton. But Cape Breton has some pieces to be excited about, but still trying to figure out what's going to happen with that Cape Breton roster. But I'm excited to see Jason Clark's fingerprints on it.
No, for sure. I mean, obviously a name that we recognize from Bathurst, and Shawinigan. You mentioned, longtime head coach and GM in the CCHL. I think when you have a rebuilding team, a young team, you want a young coach, and so I think Jason Clark is the perfect fit there in Sydney to lead the Eagles. It's you're right. It might be a little bit of a long year in Cape Breton, but they're going to have the right folks, and um, they're going to have the Sharon brothers. We're going to talk about that. When we get into the Q draft talk, I think I like that family connection, and no, just it's going to be great to have Jason Clark behind the bench in the Q.
I know
Uh,
he's got a lot of people talking. I know the dogs are excited in the background as well. Very excited. The dogs are.
yeah, I wasn't sure if you heard that or not, but when it's like I said, just great to have Jason Clark back in the queue, and he's just one of those guys that he's going to bring the best out of the players, and so it's going to be a young roster, but I think they're in for some exciting hockey in Sydney.
We got a second to talk about Moncton again at the trophy ceremony and the parade at Wildcat Square. I don't know what you would call it in front of the big ear, but Mr. Irving announces that Kel Dinoy is going to be the captain next year, and again, this is a big weekend for him with the NHL draft upcoming. So, or big weekends upcoming. I'm not the NHL draft in a couple weeks. I want your thoughts on Dinoy being named the captain now, and also what you think his draft stock did at the Memorial Cup.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I don't think there were some rumblings that he was going to be captain. I mean, who else was going to be the captain in Moncton next season, right? It's his team, and but for it to happen at the team celebration at the Ian Fowler Oval is what it's called, Mass.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was that was just a great event. I think a lot of people in the crowd were surprised, but still don't know if it was a surprise to Dinway or not. If it was, that's great on the Wildcats organization to go out and do something like that and get the fans into it. And they've been killing it so far. With the off season, they waited till the day after the celebration or the day of the celebration to announce an American free agent signing and Ryan Chudzinski. They locked up their seventh round pick and last year Jacoby Wiener for one of the goalies next season. So they're really doing it good this off season by keeping the fans engaged, getting them excited for next season, and All indications is that the coaching staff will be back. So anything, yes, it's going to be a younger team, but anytime there's Coach Mack behind the bench, anything can happen.
I know you brought up Ryan Trzynski, and again, while I was doing my draft prep, his name came up, and of course, I see his dad coached the Cleveland Browns, so football brain Mavs uh, dove right into the rabbit hole that is football because football is my first love. Um, what blows my mind, and again, the Moncton Wildcats need to find some way to sit down Gardner and Rob to have a chat about coaching and especially developing young athletes because his dad was on the Miami Hurricanes football coaching staff from 1994 to 2003 and was the offensive coordinator from 2000 to 2003. That 2001 Miami Hurricanes team is probably one of the greatest football rosters ever assembled in college football. 38 kids got drafted from that roster into the National Football League. 38. Again, in hockey terms, I know you can understand the 38 kids going on one roster of the NFL is incredible. Hockey terms, that's the equivalent of sending three lines and a goalie, maybe two, to to being drafted to the NHL off a single roster. Insane, insane. And again, they scored like 400. They averaged like 38 points a game, and he was the OC. Now, of course, a lot of that had to do with Ed Reed, who was the Hall of Famer from that. But regardless, I really hope that the Wildcats find a way to sit down Rob and Gardner to have a conversation about what it's like developing young athletes who are right on the cusp of professional sports careers because it would be a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it really would. And his name is his it's a recognizable name in the NFL. He's been coaching for years. I think he's coaching Boston College now, I believe,
Hmm.
their NCAA football program. And you know, you mentioned the Miami Hurricanes. 38 players going on in the NFL. I mean, you want to look at a hockey comparison. It's probably the 2024-2025 London Knights. Like they were just that good of a group, and just that many players that will likely go on to play pro hockey. It's unbelievable, and it's I'm excited to see what this kid brings in Moncton. He was one of the top prep players in New England. He's a late birthday, so he's going to be eligible for the 2026 NHL draft. So, to play in Moncton for his NHL draft season is going to be huge. And, you just, you look at him and Denoye playing together, there could be some magic at the big year.
Well, and the rumor is the red, white, and blue of Moncton is not done with the red, white, and blue of American hockey players quite yet. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's turn our focus to the draft. It was the Alexi Joseph draft. First overall, he's going to be our guest tonight. But any surprises for you out of this draft?
Well, I think Rimouski taking Zach Arsenault second overall was a bit of a surprise. Given or if you want to look at CSR rankings, I think he was ranked seventh. For him to climb up to second was definitely a surprise. But he was, I know he had a bit of an injury there in the second half of the season, but besides that, like he was ripping it up in the first half. Like he was on an absolute tear. And there were some people saying that he could maybe challenge Alexi Joseph for first overall. So the upside is there, and the talent's there, and the goal scoring is there. He's going to score a lot of goals in this league. You're probably looking at a 40, 50 goal scorer at the time he's 18 or 19 years old. Those are just unbelievable numbers. And there was talks of maybe Halifax moving up from 3 to 2, right, to grab Malik Letellier. But look, they were able to hold on to that pick and still get their guy. All right, so I think it worked out really well for Halifax, and you look at what Quebec paid to get James Scantlebury at ninth overall. Just a huge haul that they got, that they paid, I should say, and when you pay that much to move up in the draft and grab a kid like James Scantlebury, you better hope he reports. And all indications is that he will. I know he's tendered with I think the Chicago Steel and the USHL, went to their summer development camp, and next thing you know, he's drafted by Quebec in the first round. And if there's an organization that can get a kid like that to report, it's going to be the Ramparts. And I'd be surprised if if he's not wearing their jersey come September.
Well, there's a lot of speculation that it was a very, very short list of teams where Scantlebury was looking to
Mm-hmm.
report, and Quebec was number one on that
Yeah,
list.
100%.
And I don't know how long the list was after that. So I would have to assume that that was a sure deal done. But again, he was not at the draft. He was in the at the Chicago Steel developmental camp, and actually it was on our draft coverage first round on Eastlink, where we've got halfway through, and I said, well, we haven't heard James Scantlebury's name yet, and then a trade happened, and lo and behold, he appeared. And then later the night, I said, we haven't heard an American yet, and then lo and behold, I believe another trade happened, and Carter Meyer showed up in nowhere. And so, Dave and Greg, I tried to convince them to go to the casino with me after that. But they, Greg tapped out, and Dave was, well, we just hung afterwards. But these, you bring in a guy from the National Team Developmental Program for the Rampart and Carter Meyer. You bring in James Scantlebury. That is going to do big things to really jumpstart the rebuild in Quebec and kick that into the next level. For me, the night belonged to the Newfoundland Regiment. Two Newfoundlanders and a Nova Scotian. We are the Around the Maritime podcast. They are going to want it to be Around the Atlantic podcast if we're back for a season 2. So I don't know if we're gonna just stitch out that on there and put the Atlantic on there. We'll find out. We'll work something out. I'm sure we'll heat press something. But to bring in Ben Vitch, who stole the show with the Newfoundland flag emblazoned in a suit liner, was incredible. Come back later, take Quinn Norman, who stepped up a bit in the draft there, and then Fenwick McLean, his dad Don, played in St. John's, first Nova Scotian off there. They have built that right there is building a core of kids for the future of this team and looking ahead 3 years down the line to ensure that there's a good identity around this club, and it's a Newfoundland East Coast identity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's people out there saying that the regiment only drafted those guys because they're local. I mean, that's no. These guys are uber talented, and they're going to be impact guys. I mean, Ben Vitch is your prototypical power forward. He's just going to dominate the game. And Quinn Norman was probably the best skater in the entire draft class. You look at he compares himself to Quinn Hughes. I mean, that's a pretty good comparison. When you look at it, and just the chemistry those two are going to bring to the rink every day together. They grew up together. They played hockey together with the Eastern Hitmen and the Newfoundland U15 league, and kind of went their separate ways last year. But look, reuniting in Newfoundland it was best case scenario. I don't think a single mock draft was wrong. I did mine. I had those guys going 5 and 6. It was just too perfect of a scenario. And then you go and add Fenwick McLean, with the hockey pedigree in his family. His dad won a President's Cup with the I was going to say Gatineau, but it was the Hull Olympique at the time, and then went on to play in St. John's. Like what a perfect full circle moment for their family, and it's going to be an exciting. Like I said earlier, like I don't know if I'll be able to make it to the Rock next year, but that's going to be some high quality hockey that they're going to have as like next season. Like I couldn't be more excited to have Q hockey back in Newfoundland, just given how well things are going so far. With their marketing campaign and what they're doing with their draft picks, just an unbelievable job so far.
To go back into the Cape Breton Eagles, Cape Breton, of course, they trade themselves up into the first round, and they were able to select Olivier Charon. And again, hey, teaming him up with his brother. His brother was selected by the Eagles last year.
Yeah, Hugo, I believe it was a 4th round pick in 2024. So that's to have the brothers kind of reunite again in Cape Breton is going to be awesome. And you look at how they did as well. Like they had some guys that they took later on. Like you look at Julian Nadeau, 23rd overall. He was rated, I think, the last pick of the first round by CSR. And Sam Bertium, the goalie out of Stellarton, Nova Scotia, like had a really really good year at South Kent. And I know he wasn't the first ranked goalie, but he's, in terms of potential, I think he's one that's probably going to have the best Q career of all the goalies that were picked in the draft. So they did a phenomenal job with their first three picks. And their 30th pick as well, Drew Murphy, is no slouch, and even their 40th pick, William Dubé, William Dubé was rated a lot higher than 40th. So to grab him where they did, I think that's going to be one of those steal picks. So they did really good job. Like, shout out to their scouting staff for having a list and following it, and having guys ranked where they were, and just following their list and getting the best player available. They did a really good job.
The conversation we had off air was we were looking at the Eagles potentially trading into that first round to draft Sam Berthamio. For him to be there at 25, for them to get him, that's a fantastic pick for Cape Breton to really address some of their goaltending needs. And I expect him to be on that roster coming up this year.
Yeah, 100%. It's all indications is that, we know Alexi Cornway is taking his talents to Cornell, I think it is. And so it'll be Jacob Malota and Sam Bertium as kind of the goalie candidate combo there. And, Malota's looking to, like, he might be one of the better goalies in the league next year. So there's that possibility that maybe a team's calling at Christmas to upgrade in nets, and then all of a sudden you get a 16-year-old goalie at 6 foot 380 pounds. That's your number one guy, and that's your goalie of the future. Like, he's take over the crease and go with it, and get that confidence, build those games played up, and you're looking at a quick turnaround here in Cape Breton.
Talk about Charlottetown. We talked about Provencher. What did you like out of the Islanders draft?
Yeah, Provencher, like I said earlier, just a franchise altering forward, just a really really good forward, slick, fast, skilled. Slipped a little bit in the draft. I think he was rated second or third, and so to go and be able to get him at 7 is perfect situation for Charlottetown. I know Jim Holton liked him a lot, and was willing to do everything he can and to get him in the roster. And like a lot of the teams, it was very American draft. There's guys here that were like Ryan Jewer, a Newfoundlander, but played South Kent. He's going to Charlottetown, and it's going to be interesting to see the impact that these Americans have as early as next season. Which ones show up, which ones play, which ones make an impact. There's some of these guys fell to the 8th, 9th, 10th round. Well, they could go in and they could be a league MVP here. For all we know, in 3 years. It's just it's Connor Garland was a 6th round pick to the Moncton Wildcats, and look what he did. There was just so many wild cards, and it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing who shows up where, and just what they can do on the ice.
Brady Schultz was a 14th round pick and ended up as the career leader in points for the Halifax Mooseheads as a defenseman. What American was selected ahead of Connor Garland in that draft?
What American was selected ahead of Connor Garland in the draft? Oh,
in that draft class.
Mavs are really putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
Jack Eichel.
Correct. To the Halifax Mooseheads. Never played a game, but Jack Eichel was selected ahead in that first round, and then 6 rounds later, you had Connor Garland. Let's talk about the Wildcats there. Mark McPhee, first pick off the board for the Moncton Wildcats. Younger brother of Braden, who is currently selling season tickets for the Halifax Mooseheads as a summer internship. He's been calling season ticket holders to have a conversation about the what the fan experience was and if they're re-upping. I love that for Braden. That's a great spot for him. I know he's going to get his MBA and start working towards a business degree at UMB, but hey, great job by Halifax of employing Braden. But for Mark McPhee now, his Q journey's just beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed this pick. I was, when I saw that Moncton had moved up to 20th, one spot ahead of the Mooseheads, I was like, geez, I wonder if there's a strategic part of that deal. And look, it worked out. I think for both teams, it was a matter of, I think Moncton was targeting Mark McPhee. They found out Halifax wasn't really leaning that way. They liked an American defenseman better. That allowed Moncton to move back a couple slots, pick up some draft capital. They still managed to get Mark McPhee at 24. So just an unbelievable job by Taylor McDougall, and I think Moncton fans should be excited about not only having a local guy putting on the Wildcats jersey, but we know the family, right? We know what a McPhee's going to bring on the ice. Just kind of that in your face rat style hockey, going to make you hate your life as an opposition player. But Mark McPhee has just, I mean, no offense to Braden, but Mark has the offensive genes in the family. I think Mark's going to put up more points than Braden, and I think that's something people in Moncton are really looking forward to. It's just probably a future captain, if you ask me. It's he's going to follow his brother's footsteps to be a captain in the league, and I think it's going to take a couple seasons, but I think Mark Shafi's going to be a 4 or 5 year junior player, and not to take anything away from pro aspirations, but I think he's easily a 4 year player in Moncton for sure.
Looking at Halifax, and we talked about Melik Letalien. That was who the Moose were very big on, and there was a lot of talk that they were going to move up to second. They got him at third. Going on to take Cameron Minelia. I think I got that right. Again, an American, and the American feel of that of this draft. Moose were looking for a couple guys there. Moving on forward, what do you like with Halifax?
I mean, I think they've got two franchise defensemen with their first two picks, and what more can you ask for? Malik Italien is he was the top defenseman in the draft, and Halifax just hit a home run being able to get him at third overall. And Carmen Manila is just an a defenseman that's been talked about in New England for many years. Like he's a top defenseman, and all indications is that he's going to be at training camp in Halifax in August. So just to have those two guys, on your back end for the next 3 or 4 years is something for Mooseheads fans to be excited about. And I know their fifth round pick, Jaden Napon, is really good friends with Malik Letalien. So there's that instant chemistry. You build a team, you build a family, and to have two best friends, go to Halifax together is, I don't think you can really go wrong with that. And Brody Berard as well out of Rhode Island with the sixth round, another defenseman that's been talked about in New England for many years. If they can get those three defensemen to kind of get to Halifax and do what they do best, we could be looking at some very exciting hockey in Halifax for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Like it's really a fascinating time to be alive, Mavs, just with the American effect. And there's going to be teams that are supposed to be rebuilding, but they're not. Like they're bringing in these Americans, and it's going to be a retooling instead of a rebuilding. So there's going to be some quick turnarounds here for a lot of Q teams, and it's going to make the hockey just a lot more exciting. You hear people say it's the CHL is going to be the ones losing out because all their players are going to go play NCAA. Well, look, it looks like the NCAA guys are going to want to come and play up here, right? So it's really there's not going to be a loser in this whole thing. I think it's the NCAA will come out as winners, but the CHL will come out as winners as well.
And I really think that's going to balance itself out in the next 24 months. And I'll say in the next two seasons, there's going to be some irregularities and growing pains, but I think elite 18 and 19-year-olds, you'll see be able to weigh the option between the NCAA or the CHL. And I think you're going to see that those elite players will be able to have their choice. but a lot of players that are feeling that are thinking that I'm going to just make the jump to the NCAA at 18, 19. Not so fast. You're going to probably need another year or two in junior to have yourself ready for that because it is that level of hockey again. You're going up against 22, 23-year olds. Yeah, the elite cream of the crop will be able to find an NCAA roster, and that'll make things interesting for general managers. But I think in the long term of things, I don't think it's going to affect the CHL as much as some people are worried about.
No, not at all. Like if you get these these high end Americans coming up to play, it's going to make for exciting hockey. There's we're seeing it pay off as well. We saw St. John sign Alexander Donovan from the U.S. A Denver University commit. It's and we're going to start seeing these names, these Americans start signing. We saw it with Moncton with Ryan Chudzinski, and we're probably missing some already. There's the signings have only just begun, and we've got another 2.5 months here till training camp. So there's going to be some more names that are going to be coming up to play in the queue, and it's just going to make the hockey really really fun.
Name we got coming up: Alexi Joseph is going to join us on the Around the Maritime podcast. We're going to talk to Alexi, and then afterwards we'll talk a little bit about the St. John draft class and what we expect out of them next year. You're watching the Around the Maritime podcast, the official podcast of the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League. All right, it's summertime, and you know what that means. It is time for you to get out and enjoy the beach, enjoy the barbecue, enjoy the campsite, enjoy the cottage. If you're in Cape Breton, you enjoy the bungalow. That's right, because it's a bungalow in Cape Breton, not a cottage, not, well, if for our Quebec friends, the chalet, if you will. But you're saying to yourself, Mavs, how am I going to ensure that I stay up to date on everything? Well, with Eastlink, we got you covered with the perfect pair. $99 a month gives you unlimited mobile and a gig internet. $99 a month. That's right. 1-888-345-1111. Go to the store, talk to one of our friends there at the Eastlink store and say, I want that perfect pair. And they'll say, I'll fix you right up. And they get you done up real nice. Also, eastlink.ca. And again, you want to get the TV in there as well. So you get that Eastlink TiVo on your account, and then you take your TV with you everywhere you go on your mobile. And you're like, I'm worried about the data. That's why you have unlimited data with this perfect pair, which could become the terrific trio if you had Eastlink, if you had the TV to it. They haven't put that in the marketing yet, but between you and I here on the Around the Maritime podcast, we could say that. They won't know what they're talking about at the store, but just say, hey, if I add the TV, that's a terrific trio. What do you say? Maybe it'll catch on. Maybe it won't. Maybe marketing will hate me. Maybe they won't. But either way, you want to make sure you get that perfect pair. Unlimited mobile, 1 gig internet, 99 a month with Eastlink. So we're very fortunate to have Alexi Joseph joining us on the Around the Maritimes podcast. First overall pick in the QMJHL draft. Alexi, thanks for taking the time to join us. Tell us what the emotions like for you in being picked by the St. John Sea Dogs.
I'm very happy. Feel great. I'm very happy to be selected by St. John. It's a great organization that got a lot of success in the past. So I'm very happy to be a part of the St. John's team.
You played in the U18 league in Quebec as not only 14 years old player, but as a 15-year-old player. For those who don't know you as a player, what can the fans in St. John expect to see?
I'm an offensive player for sure. I got a good skills asset. The last 2 years, I tried to improve my defensive side to become a 200-foot player. Yeah, I can right now I can do a defensive mission, also score goals. So yeah, I'm a complete player, I will say.
Well, the mission is just beginning for you to take the next step up in your hockey career. But you were an underager. You were a year younger than everyone playing U18 hockey. How is that? How do you think that will have helped your development going into next season?
It will be it helpful for sure, but like it's 2 years like ago, so I will play in a different league next year. The player will be bigger, faster, so I will have to work hard this summer to become a better player and in better form for the camp in August.
We saw your teammate from Esther Blonda, Jaden Pominville, get picked also in the first round. How excited were you for him to see him go to Rwanda?
Yeah, I was very excited. Jaden was not expecting that he was drafted first round, but before the draft, I said to him like, "Be ready, man! Like, he's a very good player, and I believe in him. He can play hockey, and like I played a couple of years with him, and he got a very good potential. So yeah, I was happy for him, but I was not. It was not a surprise for me.
It's a good point there that you got to be there with so many friends that you would have played hockey with, played hockey against in the draft process. How much fun was the draft weekend?
Incredible. Like no words like describe this weekend. It was pretty fun. Like I was with all the players that we played together this summer, like pickup team or a team like this. So it was an incredible weekend, and yeah, I will remember this weekend all my life.
Growing up, playing hockey, was there who was your role model? Who did you really look up to when you were growing up? Up until a 14, 15-year old player.
Younger, it was Sidney Crosby. He's a competitor. He's a winner. So I cannot have a better model than him. But right now, I'll say like I try to become like Nathan McKinnon. He's a 200 foot player, and yeah, he's a great player. Right now, is my model like on the ice.
When growing up in the shadow of the Bell Center, I'm going to assume Montreal Canadian fan.
Yeah, I am. I am a Montreal Canadian. Like, yeah, I hope they win next year.
What's some of your favorite memories watching the Canadians?
I will say the when they got to the cup, my I remember like in the second round we are a couple of guys in the pool with our dads and just watching the game. Like I think it was against Winnipeg, and yeah, it was incredible. Like all the months of June, we got a good time in the pool watching the Canadians.
Looking ahead, to your rookie season in St. John, do you have any goals that you want to set for yourself in your rookie year?
Yeah, I got a couple of goals. But I don't try to get like expectation or stuff like that. Just play hockey. It will be a new team, new system, new city for me, new all. Like yeah, whatever I got, like it will be new. So yeah, but my goals will be to improve myself like a lot, and be dominant and a great player for my team at the end of the season, and hopefully help my team to do a run in playoff.
Yeah, new culture and new language. This might be the longest English interview you will give to date right now, and you're doing great, Alexi. How
Thank you.
excited are you for to be immersed in maritime culture?
Like I'm okay with it. Like I'm from Gaspésie. My dad is from Gaspésie, so yeah, I'm okay with like the food. I know like you eat some like I don't know how to say it, but in French it's a fruit de mer.
Seafood.
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 Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with this food, and I love it. I eat all year long in Montreal, but yeah, I got teammates who I know too, so they will help me for my like progress in this environment. Yeah,
Well, if you like seafood, you're coming to the right part of Canada.
yeah.
I know you were at the. I remember seeing you at the draft in Moncton last year. Other than that trip, have you ever been to the Maritimes before? Like, are you familiar with Atlantic Canada?
I never been to St. John before. I've been to Moncton last year, like you said, but that's like the only city I've been in Maritimes. But yeah, I visit a couple of places in Canada, but not St. John. So it will be a new place for me. But I'm excited to be in St. John.
Well, you're going to be visiting a lot of different cities for the first time as a member of the Q next year. What's what are you looking forward to the most? Um, Getting a chance to play a pro style schedule and pro style league of hockey.
I will. I don't know how to say it, but I will not try to like to overthink.
Mm.
Like just play hockey, have fun with the boys. I'm a teenager, and like it, wherever I am, if I am in Montreal or Saint John, it's like you got a stick, you got skate, and you have to put the puck in the net. So I will just try to do this the better as I can, and not overthink.
I mentioned Jaden Pominville earlier, but you had a chance to play under his dad, Jason Pominville, who was an assistant with Esther Blondin, former NHL player. Like, what did you learn from him, and how did he help you prepare for where you are in your career right now?
Uh, I learned everything from him. He is like he played 15 years in the NHL. He's a good coach, and like he said the good thing for you like at the right moment. If like you have to improve this, he will tell you, and he's a very good coach, and he helped me for a lot the last 2 years, and I got him to when I was Pee Wee. So yeah, he's a good coach, and he helped me like for everything. Yeah. So yeah.
What's some of your favorite memories from your youth hockey career, from playing minor hockey?
Um, like winning the Quebec tournament in Pee Wee was incredible. I also won like a series of brick when I was 9 years old at Vegas. So yeah, those are my two best memories.
I'd love to ask that Quebec Pee Wee tournament. That would have been the first time for you to play in a massive environment. What was it like skating on the ice the first time in that?
It was incredible. Like we were like young. I think 12 or 13 years old,
Hmm.
playing in the Centre Videotron. It was incredible, and all the boys that were in the team, like we stay in contact. So yeah, we built a family for life, and yeah, it was good.
It's funny how some hockey moments come full circle. You play in the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, and then you're walking up the stage at the Videotron Center. It's aside from hockey, like what do you like to do outside of the rink? Any other sports that you play?
Yeah, I play golf right now. Yeah, I'm a member of a golf club. I also train in the summer. Yeah, I train a lot, so I don't have any other time. But yeah, I play golf and I play also basketball outside with my friends, doing a 1v1 or 3v3. It's a bit like a competition, but yeah, after 10 minutes we are all uh, like, I don't know how to say it, like wet. Right?
Sweaty. You're all gassed,
Yeah,
gassed and sweaty,
yeah.
right? After 10. Let's talk golf. Let's talk golf because I love chatting golf. How do you hit it? What's the strength of your game on the course?
I'm not too good. Like, I started 2 years ago, but yeah, I play lower than 100. So yeah, I'm okay with this, and just having fun with the boys. That's my goal. I don't want to play in the PGA one day, maybe, but that's not my goal right now. Just having fun with the boys and pass a good time with them.
The goal's got to be hockey. What's an aspect of your golf game you want to work on this summer?
I think my putting. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
putting.
putting. Yeah, the short game is very tough.
Right.
That's hard when you are on the par five and you're getting on the green in two, but you finish with a double bogey. So yeah, that's
Whoa,
that's not fun.
no, but you're getting on the green 2 and 3 on par fives. That means you're hitting it pretty well. I love to hear that. That means you got some
Yeah,
power behind those shots. That's
yeah. I
that's
shot
great
long, but
bases.
what?
That's a great start right there.
Yeah, I shot pretty long, but not right. So yeah.
What do you? I guess what are your plans for the rest of the summer? I know you'll be training a lot, but anything anything you got going on? Any vacations? Any special trips you could maybe share with us?
No, no. We got a camp in July in St. John. My family will be with me, so that will be our trip. Otherwise, we stay at home and train hard.
Well, you're turning 16 this week.
Yep.
So the driver's license, is that coming as well? How excited are you to get in the car?
Yeah. I will. I'm excited to drive, but yeah, yeah. I will have my license the date of my birth. So I don't know if you understand. Yeah.
Yep, I got that.
Yeah.
Absolutely got that. That's good.
So yeah, I will pick my license Monday. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Um, m- your name's been thrown around on some NHL mock drafts for 2027.
Uh,
As a at, at 15, at 14, what is it like to hear your name get tossed around with the letters NHL?
yeah, it's exciting. I like it's a honor for me, but I try to don't like overthink. Like I said, just play hockey. The good thing will came, and yeah, don't overthink. I'm just a player who got like some success in the past, but I have a lot of work to do.
I know you said your role model was growing up was Crosby and kind of McKinnon, but is there an NHL player that you would say that you style your game after?
I think I right now I look like Quentin Byfield. He got a good shot, good skills asset. He's a big guy too. And the important thing is he's a player in progress. So yeah, I will compare myself to him.
Well, Alexi, I guess we appreciate taking some time. Jeremy, have you got anything else for Mr. Joseph before we let him go?
Oh, I just want to say that I'm as a hockey fan, I'm jealous that St. John does a development camp in August and no other team does. So I think you're going to the right organization, and I'm looking forward to watching you here in Moncton as soon as St. John makes their first trip here.
Yeah, thank you.
And Alexi, again, It was great to chat with you on the night of the draft. Thanks again for coming aboard here on the Around the Maritime podcast. I know English is second language. It just, you talk about how you have work to do in the game, and you're gonna become ingratiated, and the language of hockey is going to speak for itself. So
Yeah.
you're going to have 18 new friends in St. John, just like that. And we look forward to seeing you around the Maritimes, around Atlantic Canada, and can't wait to have you on Eastlink. We'll be sure to have another TV interview or two with you down the road, and keep putting in the work, both on the rink. And I hope when we do get to chat with you in September or October, you can say your putting's improved drastically as well. All right.
Yeah. Thank you for everything. It was pretty fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexi.
Ciao.
Thanks.
So we just talked about the perfect pair, or between friends here, the terrific trio. Because if you add TV on that, then you got that in there as well with your perfect pair and the TV. You add TiVo Stream, Prime Sports channels are included on that. I'm saying, what are the Prime Sports channels? You got your TSN. Actually, hold on. Where is it? I just picked up a beauty of a hat. Give me 1 second. Bang! You got TSN right there. It's not that logo anymore, but trust me, it's there. And then you got Sportsnet, you got the Golf Channel. You get that included if you get TiVo included in your package. So you don't want to miss any sports. You get that on the phone. You get it at home. It's a little box. You could flick around on it. You could put your YouTube and Netflix on the old TiVo thing as well. Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. And where do you get it? Good for people at Eastlink. 1-888-345-1111, eastlink.ca, or visit someone at the store today and they'll get you hooked up. Look at that. The old logo. They need to bring this retro logo back. I'm just saying. I don't work for them. I'm trying, but I don't. Anyways, hey, I work for Eastlink, and they're great to me. They'll be great to you too. And now we welcome to the Around the Maritime podcast, Beau Boucher. Beau, joining us here. I'm gonna put y'all on the full screen right now, man. This is great stuff. There we go. Beau is in there. Jeremy, that was Beau showed up Monday.
Bo showed up Monday. Yeah, really early Monday morning, 1:53 a.m. So the past few days have been a bit of a whirlwind and lacking some sleep here, but this guy seems to be getting his sleep in, and I'm hoping to catch up on mine here in the next couple of days.
Well, Jeremy, of all the draft picks we got a chance to talk about on this episode and talk with Alexi Joseph, the first overall, I think that's the most exciting draft pick that we get to have on there. What can we expect out of Beau Boucher in the future?
Well, he's going to be a 2041 Q draft pick here, and whether it's first overall or 201st overall, he's gonna be a lot more active on the ice than he is right now. Let's put it that way.
Well, it looks as if Beau doesn't have a lot to say, but is looking to let the play do the talking for Beau. That's really exciting stuff. And I know Meg's everything's good with Meg. Everything's good there, and yeah, we're all good.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Everything's going well. All the staff, all the nurses at the Mountain Hospital were absolutely incredible, and I can't thank them enough. The doctors were great, the nurses were fantastic, and it's don't know if there's another one coming in the future, but if there is, we've got the nice new unit at the Moncton Hospital where it's every room is a private room, and it's just an incredible facility.
That's great. Looks like Beau might be. No, Beau is just gonna stay asleep there, and
Yeah.
we talked with Alexi Joseph, the Sea Dogs draft class. Didn't get a chance to really chat about that. That was a great interview from Alexi too. He was a little worried about his English, but man, his English was really good, and he's going to fit in really well with the Dogs. What else did you like about what the guys did this weekend?
Well, what can you say? I mean, it's St. John. If there was a team that I think the Ramparts hit it out of the park, St. John was right there with them. It's to go out and get Alexi Joseph, Nolan Haru, who's maybe one of the best, in terms of skill, probably top 5 skilled players in the entire draft. And, Jace McPherson, PEI goalie. You don't often see PEI goalies getting picked, as high as 29. So, clearly they like something out of Jace. And Everett Baldwin, probably don't know much about him, but I just know that if you come from a school and your team name is the Dragons, you got something going. You got something good going on.
Well, we talked about St. John making a splash. We talked about all the Atlantic teams making splashes. The biggest splash I think of the week in the Quebec League had to be Blainville, bringing in Spencer Gill, bringing in Bill Zonin, and loading up. They are going to be a scary team next year.
Yeah, they really are. They're obviously all in. They want to be in Kelowna next year for the Memorial Cup, and they're on the right step. To get Spencer Gill and Bill Zonin and Vince Collard from Moncton, and they're Mael Leving as well. They're on the right foot. There's you can make the argument that a team like maybe Chicoutimi or Shawinigan are looking to go for it as well. But they after the moves Blainville made, there's these other teams, they've got some catching up to do.
One of the interesting things also to add is that the playoff format has changed. Next year, only the first round is played in the division, as the 4 divisions have also been scrapped. So it's just 2 conferences, which will be called divisions, and then everything gets reseeded again based off of standings. And we worked it out on the draft coverage, and man, the second round matchups from last year's playoffs, if they were in that format, would have been very, very intriguing to watch.
Yeah, it's an interesting change. It's I think it gets reseeded going into the second round. I believe it is. So that's again, there's going to be some really good teams eliminated early. I think there's some people that want the 1 to 16, 2 versus 15, format back, but it just doesn't have the rivalry effect in the first round, and that's what you want. You want it to be, if you want to win a championship, you got to take the hard road to win it. And the format they've got right now it really benefits every team. You look at a team like the Remparts, who, despite them being swept by Moncton, like they pushed Moncton to the edge. Every game was, I think, a 1-goal game, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it was a really tight series, and that's what you want. You want your first round series to be competitive, and it was the format. I think they finally figured it out. And the last thing I want is for them to go back to a 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. It's just, it doesn't have the same impact as what we've got going on right now.
Yeah, 1v16, 2v15 that's a recipe for teams traveling to the other side of the league just to get stopped. And no one wins in that situation. Again, I know, hey, we had 1v16 this year, and it was the upset of upsets when the Mooseheads knocked off Drummondville. Again, that doesn't happen. That's the 1 in a million shot right there. Okay. And it was a hot goaltender in Jacob Steinman, who is now nominated as goalie of the year in the CHL. So congratulations to Jacob Steinman on that honor in getting that nomination. But to keep it in the divisions for the first round and then move forward, because this year we talked a lot of talk this year around these parts was how much of a logjam the Eastern Conference was going to be, especially in that second round, because you were looking at 2 teams being eliminated in that second round that could have won the thing.
Yeah. Like, look at Cape Breton, right? The moves that Cape Breton made, and they're out in round 1.
Yeah.
It was that's the playoffs you want. You don't want to see good teams go out early, but it's the risk that you take, when you make all the moves to go all in, given the situation where the Eagles were in and where they were in the standings. I mean, they didn't have much wiggle room to move up, but they still decided to make the moves to try to win, and it came back to bite them. And but that's again, it's the risk you take when you want to win a championship. It's you look at St. John when they hosted the Mem Cup. They were out. They lost in 5 games to Rimouski, and they were out for 2 months. I know they won the ultimate prize, but it's the last thing you want is to be out early, especially when you're hosting the Memorial Cup. And it's I really like this format. I think it's going to be it's still going to keep the rivalries strong, and I'm just excited to get going for next season.
And yeah, we're talking about next season, so that means we're coming to the end of this season here. This is our final episode of Around the Maritimes for this season. Jeremy, I know I can take a guess what your lasting impression and favorite memory of this season is going to be, but let us know. What is your lasting impression, and what's the thing you're going to look back on this season and remember the most?
Well, from Moncton standpoint, it's hard not to really reminisce on the season that was. It was the best season we've seen in Moncton in quite a while, and I think it's anytime you can win 50 games and lose less than 10 when you play 64, that's tough to do. It's you have to have a really good team put together to really break down those barriers. But it was just a really really exciting season. There was some really good hockey played. The playoffs was really competitive. I can't remember a playoff season or a playoff year with just so many good matchups and so many good teams. And at the end of the day, the best team won, and that's what you want. And especially in the final, when you're the top two teams and the overall standings are playing against each other in the championship, like what more can you ask for, right? And you can look at the Memorial Cup, same two teams, winner moves on. Loser goes home on the final day of the round robin of the Memorial Cup. It's you can't ask for more than that from from a QMJHL standpoint.
I know the Gardner McDougall effect was in it paid dividends for the Moncton Wildcats on the way to
Mm-hmm.
the championship. But for me, one of the things that I look back on this season with and is going to stick with me for a long time is Jacob Steinman as a
Mm-hmm.
young man who was in as a 20-year-old goaltender with the Moncton Wildcats to start the year, and was looking ahead towards a deep run, then traded for Mathis Russo, and Mathis Russo, who started the season with Halifax, and there was some question marks on if he was going to be able, on if he was going to go play pro in the offseason because of just looking at the Halifax roster of what they had and the level of goaltender he was. The swap there, um, I know for Mathis Russo, it was a tough adjustment going to the Wildcats, but again, in the finals for Mathis, that's exactly. See you, Bo. Take it easy. For that's why the Wildcats made that trade to bring in Mathis Russo. But I watched Jacob Steinman, who I got to cover. We've covered on Eastlink as a member of the Wildcats, and watch him come in and backstop and be an anchor for a very young Halifax Moosehead team. And you would not you couldn't blame you wouldn't have blamed Jacob Simon if he folded the tent in January and said, "I'm done. This is what it is." And the resiliency he showed, the professionalism he showed, to be back in the rink that week and go right to work with this team, and for him to not just steal but win a playoff round for the Mooseheads over the number one team from the Western Conference and earn the nod of goaltender of the year in the QMJHL and be nominated for that title in the CHL is something that I think is, for me, is the story of the year from our perspective, outside of the Moncton Wildcats, winning the league title. That's the one. That's one of the storylines I will look back on this Q season, and it's an absolute feather in the cap for Jacob Steinman for what he's was able to do with that young team, and yeah, for him to be there and be the goaltender that he is. So best of luck to I know he's off to Cornell as no, he's not. He's Cornwall is Cornell. Steinman
Bowling
is
Green.
going to Bowling
Bowling
Green.
Green.
Bowling
Yeah.
Green. So, and you know what? And it's funny. I do bring up Alexi Cornwall, and that's a young man that was playing in Truro in
Yeah.
December. Gets a phone call because Jacob Malota is going to the World Juniors to play with the Czech Republic, and Cornwall is brought in to be a backup and be a band-aid while Malota's gone to World Juniors for Cape Breton. And now all of a sudden, we fast forward. Cornwall is going he's going to Cornell. He's going to an Ivy League school, and he's now as well. There's a very good chance his name's going to get called in the NHL draft this year. That's a
Yeah, you never give up. Like it's
yeah.
just like a story of perseverance. To go from playing junior A in Truro to having the second half, that he did with Cape Breton, take over the number one job. It was one of the better stories of the entire second half. Yeah, you're right. He could very well be drafted at the NHL draft at the end of this month, which would be even more of an incredible story. So yeah, just a lot of really positive stories and news to take away from this season. And let's you get a chance here to have Caleb Dinwiddie maybe top 4, top 5, guaranteed top 10 pick in the NHL draft, and there's a chance that maybe Bill Zonin joins him in the first round, and Justin Carbonneau. So, what more can you ask for from Q? Just ambassadors across the board, just making the league a better place to play every day.
And I guess what more can we ask for? What more can we thank the Q for? Of course, we want to thank the teams, the players, the coaches, the general managers that have given us a lot to talk about, that have been guests on the podcast. We want to thank the Q as well, Raphael, Alex, Carl, Mario. There's one more guy in that Q spot I'm thinking of. The guy I send the shorts to. Forgetting his. I'm blanking on. I could bring up the Gmail, but
Is it Alex Regenball?
no, I got Alex in
That
there.
one?
Alex does
Did we
great
say
work, and
him?
again,
We got
great,
Alex. Geez.
fantastic montage from Alex in the on the draft, and he does such great video work. So, I gotta send a couple more shorts to him, anyways. But yes, I do want to say thanks to the Q, and on our note, thanks again from Eastlink for allowing us to do this and being a part of this. And we have a fun time covering all the teams in the league, of course. And the teams allow me to run around with a gimbal and a phone, and you might see us live in the gimmick from time to time. That was a shameless plug, but again, a big thank you to the league and everyone involved for allowing us to cover and us to have a chance to talk about some great local heroes and some great local sport that we're all entertained and we're all inspired by.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'd love to do it again next season, and might have to do a little bit of a name change here, but we'll if given the opportunity, we'd I think I could speak for yourself, Mavs, when I say we'd love to be back.
Absolutely, will love to be back because it is so much fun doing this and getting a chance to go in depth with the personalities around the league. So again, thank you to you, the viewer and the listener, for tuning in every week and getting caught up with us on the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League and around the Maritimes. Bang.